What's going on, everybody? I'm Nick.
And I'm Colin.
And this is Still Bussin'. Welcome back to the show. It's great to have you guys here. This is Still Bussin', and it's a positive, fun, uplifting show all about how no matter your situation in life, whether you're up or whether you're down, there are always reasons that life's still bussin'. And today we're talking all about why sometimes a midlife career change can be very bussin'. I think people always talk about how you're too old to do this. You can't go into this field. You're already so entrenched in this job. Why would you switch? But we're here to hopefully highlight some of the times when a midlife, and we say midlife, maybe probably anything over, 30 something, 30s, 40s. I've known people that have changed careers well into their 40s and beyond. And we're here to hopefully shed some light on what we think would be an appropriate time or an inappropriate time to consider a career switch. And so hopefully we shed a little bit of light on that. But I wanted to start it off by, I think there's such a stigma around this idea of, you're too old to be doing that. You can't change to this job or to that job. But I think you have to realize everything moves really quickly these days, right? Jobs, lives, people are instant gratification in our society. And I think by and large, kind of gone are the days of people saying, I've been 30 years with this company. Now, if you ever go to the post office workers, dude, I swear there are postal workers that have for sure been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
I don't know why that came to my mind, but there are examples of it. But I think by and large, especially young careers, millennials, Gen Zers, right? They jump from different jobs. They use that to increase their income, to maybe make a lateral career or job move to jump up to the next thing. And so this 25, 30 years at one company, it's kind of like it's out the window, and that's okay, right? Like, what do you think about midlife job career switches?
Well, not only is it okay, they're actually finding statistics now. There is so much published about the growth patterns between two different individuals at the exact same age, and how the person who is jumping careers and even sometimes companies or even sometimes just, opportunities every 2 years is seeing a greater growth rate in their salary and in their job titles than the person who stays at one company for that same amount of time. Totally. So we've also maybe interacted with a time in history, or we are in a time in history where it is actually more advantageous to change things. And there's a lot of benefits to it. And also, I think, you were mentioning the speed of things evolving, people, opportunities. We're also at the wildest time where technology is evolving on a daily basis. I mean, there are things coming out, and I'm sure by the time this comes out, there'll be some new technology. It's like, it's literally daily advances and things where you go, well, that opportunity, we were actually just talking about this before we started recording. I've started embarking on another aspect of my career because the technology in the last 2 months became available that was otherwise completely unavailable to me. Yeah. And that was something I had never intended on taking on. It was something that always interests me. And all of a sudden this multi-million-dollar operation could be boiled down to a couple $1,000s. And I was like, well, I can, at 35, I can start transitioning into that lane. And that's exciting for me. Yeah. But it only became available like this calendar year.
Yeah, like I know of marketing and ad agencies and stuff that are hiring for ChatGPT AI prompter as a job. It's like, I went to college at this school. I studied 4 years in business for AI special. Do they even have degrees yet for that stuff?
No.
I remember I was in college during like the early stages of like Facebook and YouTube marketing. Yeah. And I was getting like a marketing advertising degree, and I was learning about print campaigns and stuff, which, there's still magazines, there are still print, there are still billboards, sure. But like there wasn't this idea of what's our YouTube ad strategy.
Yeah.
There was not in a single textbook, anything I read that ended up being one of my early careers was like YouTube viral video marketing company. Yeah. And, my parents and people were like, you working for a what now? Who? Yeah. You're doing a what? Oh, that's fun. Isn't YouTube for cat videos? And it's like, you'll see.
Yeah.
Now there's this $1 billion ad industry, but yeah, totally. you're becoming like the AI guy, which is kind of cool. Every time Colin's over here, he's like, dude, I use ChatGPT to organize my schedule for when I should vacuum or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. He's always got new ideas he's using.
100%.
And I love it looks like Mid-Journey Images created your tie-dye shirt there. Yeah. If you can't see this guy, it looks like an AI generated t-shirt.
It is. No, I wish it was. That'd be cool.
It's awesome.
But even that is like the idea that this technology can say, let's use ChatGPT as an example. If you were like, oh, I've always wanted to be a writer. I just don't have the ideas, but gosh, I can write dialogue all day, or I can write stories all day. There's now this technology that says, you do what you do, and we can supplement intelligently. We can intelligently supplement story, plot, verbiage, dialogue, anything you want. And so the idea to say, oh, I can't do something because of X, Y, Z. And I would even then make the opposite correlation, which is you can actually go into opportunities now when you are changing careers and have a wealth of knowledge behind you in something vastly different that bizarrely gives you an upper hand. Like, is okay. We talk about, you made a career change a couple of years back.
Yeah, totally.
And so one thing that was really impressive, and I'll let you tell the story, but one thing that I'll say that was really impressive was when you transitioned from what you were doing to moving back to San Diego, you were like, I know how to work a camera. I'm really good at it. I know how to light. I know how to do sound. I know how to do all these aspects of production that you had been doing prior, but you transitioned it into a totally new business that is now, I mean, it's killer, but you took something that maybe wasn't necessarily correlated, found a connection, and developed an entirely new business strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the notes today that I was going to talk about, was that idea that, we talk about, I know we joke about you doing the AI stuff, but there are new jobs, new industries, new careers coming up. So to think that you are only ever one thing pivoted down one particular road, it's just, maybe it works for some people if they want to really go deep down into one particular career, but there's these cross-disciplinary career intersections, right? So you take, like, I used this example when we were talking before we started recording. If maybe you're a chef, but you've always wanted to be an accountant or something crazy, and maybe you end up being really, really good at accounting because you had such a system of keeping inventory of your fresh fruits and vegetables in the kitchen. Everybody thought you were crazy. You're just like, what is this chef doing? That translated to you're incredibly now great at keeping organized of your accounts receivable at accounting. And it's like, maybe someone who always stayed in one career didn't see that, and they didn't get that fresh new perspective on it. So,
there's a great quote by, I feel like I've quoted him now twice on 2 episodes, but there's a great quote by Steve Jobs. He was giving a commencement speech at...
you can quote Steve Jobs as much as you want on this podcast. I think he's like one of the safe people to quote no matter what.
True. But he had this great quote that has always stuck with me. And I think it is more prevalent now than ever, especially when it talks about mid-career or midlife career changes. He's given his commencement speech, and he talks about how you can never connect the dots of life looking forward, only backwards. And he talks about how when he was in his 20s, he took a calligraphy class in college. It's a tough one. A lot of C's and L's.
Not a lot of people do it these days anymore.
Yeah. It's
My
almost
mom
gone.
can do it.
And it's a dying art. He found it interesting. He thought, that's beautiful. I love the way the and he had no clue what he was going to do, right? He wasn't designing or making computers yet. He just took this course, and then a couple years later, he starts developing the Mac. He starts developing Apple with Wozniak, and he decides to put a real emphasis on the typefaces and on the fonts of Apple, and even creates, some of the first photo manipulating programs and creates art programs. And as we all know, Apple is now the leader of Premiere, Final Cut Pro, Avid. They are Photoshop. They are Adobe. They are one of the leading art creators, pieces of machinery to create art. He only saw that looking backwards. He never took that calligraphy class saying, I'm going to one day make this machine. It's like, you can't do that. And so if you apply that to your same life and you go, hey, I was a chef. And you know what I found out? I was really good at making sure that our stock levels were really good, I think I would be an accountant. You don't know that until you jump into that, because at the time you're just being a chef. Or if you're, we always joke there's a lot of editors who have all agreed that for some reason, majority of really good video editors in Hollywood all played with Legos as a kid.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. Everyone
all I did was step on them.
Everyone I've ever spoken to that is really talented. Now that someone cued this into me like 10 years ago, now I'm like, do you ever play with Legos as a kid? Universally, yes. But you learn this skill of taking pieces that are already available and creating something new with it, just like a video editor does.
Oh, that's insane.
But you wouldn't have said one day I'm going to make commercials by making Legos. You just go, I now have this skill and I can take it somewhere else. And so if you apply that same logic into your career and you go, yeah, maybe I was really good at manufacturing chairs. I was the best chair manufacturer ever. And all of a sudden you're going to user, app design for user experience. Well, you already were thinking about the comfort of the person sitting in your chair. Now you can think about the comfort of someone sitting in your user design, but you could never connect those two.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Otherwise. And so I think people have to remember the value of that is like, there are skills you will get when you transition over that are invaluable. You never know it.
And people also, some skills take a very, very long time to learn, but a lot of corporate work skills or a lot of today's job skills, like you can learn the technology quicker than you would think if you genuinely commit yourself to like learning it, like software, different ways that companies operate, right? Like operating procedures and things like that. Just because you're coming from a totally different discipline all the way to a new career, a new industry, don't let other people frown upon you for that, Totally. Take yourself seriously, take it seriously. And you can make a freaking right-hand turn out of nowhere going from one job to something else. Now, if you find yourself becoming a like habitual job and career hopper, then I think you want to go back to what we talked about earlier, again, before we were recording. We prep all these episodes before, and we talk about, and then we're like, wait, should we be recording during this? And then here we are recording. But we talked about, what was I saying? Where was I going with this?
If you're jumping careers too much and if you're transitioning around too much.
Yeah. So if you're jumping too much or you're thinking too often about, I need to get out of this job, I need to go to this. Go back to what your values are, your value system. Go back to what it is that is your mission as a person. It doesn't have to be huge, amazing, right? Like not every job, not every career has to be, I save infant lives in the emergency room daily, right?
Yeah.
Like not everyone's going to be an ER doc, and that's okay. You have to find value and meaning sometimes in jobs that are important, super important, but may not always be that flashy, that amazing. And I think too many people, if you don't focus on the inside of what you value and what you want to bring to others, maybe it's you just want to serve people. You just want to bring joy to other people. If you get too focused on, well, how does this job look like from the outside? How much money am I making here? Who's going to respect me more if I'm doing that? Which it's a super strong pull. We all feel that, right? There are parents, there are loved ones, there are people that are saying, do this. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Right? I'm sure we all had parents or family members. For the most part, my family was pretty supportive, like whatever creative things I wanted to do. So I'm very thankful for that. But you've got to go back to your why, your internal why. And if you don't know it yet, that's okay. Like you figure it out.
And even to your point of doing something that's important can be external or internal. It might be externally important. You are going to go save children. You are going to go build houses in other countries. You're going to go create water infrastructure. Or it's internally important. You go, I have this passion to paint. I need to paint. I want to put my painting into the world. Go be a painter. If that is that important to you, absolutely be a painter. It could be as small as, I want to have a meme page. I want to make people laugh on the internet. Fantastic. If that's important, you go do that. But that importance, whether internal or external, it's the defining factor. And you talked about a value system. A story I wanted to bring up was I went on a surf trip. I go on a trip every year, 2 years to Nicaragua. I love it down there. We got some friends. We got a couple places to stay. Good wave that I like. I met a guy this last year that was very interesting. He and I got to chatting. Great surfer, Californian as well, which is always fun when you're overseas. And he was living out of a van at the time. And mind you, this guy is, I think he was older than me. Had to be
Down by the river.
The
van down by the river.
Well, I didn't put that together.
Amazing.
But he was, I think, 41, 42. And it's not a old, Chevy C10 horrible van that you see rust out.
It's a Mercedes van, right?
It was a nice Mercedes van, but nonetheless, the guy is in less than 100 square feet of floor plan.
Yeah.
And he's a 41-year-old man, and he's big. He's like my size, like 6'3", 6'4". And I remember asking him, like, how you liking that? I wasn't judging him. I was genuinely curious. I was like, because I was kind of intrigued by the idea that nomadic off-grid life. I go, how you liking that? He goes, better than my last life. I was like, oh, okay, go on.
Do tell.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Like,
what's your last life?
And basically we got to talking, and he was like, yeah, at about 41, I was an investment banker making, I think he said like 280, 290 a year up in San Francisco, which is fine. It's enough to get by in San Francisco, and it's a good, healthy life.
It's a median salary in San Francisco.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, truly, yeah. I might be even on the low end for that city, but like he was doing really well. He had an investment banker job. He's in the high rises. He's wearing a suit every day. He said he had a big oceanfront condo. Like, he's doing good. Hated his life. You know what I mean? Just wasn't happy. He was never surfing. He was unhealthy. He felt like he was owned by something else. I understand how he feels. And he quit his job, bought that van with his savings, and decided he was going to just start driving it south, finding waves through Central America. And then he landed in Nicaragua because he knew someone there and had some hookups. And I was like, so what, you just retired? He's like, no, I figured out how to make iPhone cases on this website. And I sell like maybe 5,000-6,000 a month worth of iPhone cases. And I live out of a van, so it's like more than enough for me. And I'm living this great life. And the guy was surfing like 3 times a day, perfect beach barrels. Yeah. And I'm like,
probably healthy, good shape.
He was in great shape. He was super healthy. And you could tell that he was really happy and he was really content. And so the reason I tell that story is like his value system didn't value the material success that he had. And I don't think there's anything wrong with I love material success. I got 2 massive TVs. I got a lot of shoes that are too expensive. Like, I'm all about
Big material guy.
I really am. But his value system said that he no longer valued that like he did in his 20s and 30s when he pursued that career. And so he said, I got a new one, and I'm now going to pursue that value system. And it's going to involve surfing 3 times a day, owning nothing, and making enough money to live a good life. And he was killing it. At least from the outside, he was killing it. I think it's worth, when you're doing this equation of, do I want to leave this career? Do I want to find a new one? Do I hate my life, or do I hate my situation? Because you went back to it. If someone's jumping job to job, maybe they hate their situation. But the problem isn't the job. It's them in their perceived situation or whatever. You just got to go back to that value system. What do I want to get out of this? Did I start painting because I love painting, or do I start painting because I want to be the next Picasso or Rembrandt or whatever?
Yeah. Hey guys, this episode is running a little bit long, so we decided to go ahead and chop it into 2. So please join us next week for parte dos. That's part 2 for your non-Spanish speakers. Thanks for listening, and we'll pick up on the next episode. Bye.